Hello, this is Child Crest. It is all about the child. By now you know that we are continuing with our community health series. We're also focusing on some series on hemorrhagic fever, some topics that qualify under this. Today, I'm sure what she's talking about, hemorrhagic fever, sound new to some people. But when I say LASSA fever, oh yes. Would I say it's trending or it's raging? Or is an epidemic in some states of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So why can't we talk about it on Child Crest? How does it affect the child and the parents whose focus this program is meant for? Timilai is here. Give us a background report on LASSA fever. We'll be back shortly.
On this segment of the program, we will be talking on LASSA fever. What is LASSA fever? LASSA fever is a disease caused by Lassa hemorrhagic fever, and it is also a type of viral hemorrhagic disease. This disease is transferred by Lassa virus when someone comes in contact with the urine or feces of a multimammate rat. This disease is spread by rats. And how do we prevent and curtail these diseases from spreading? For answers to these and more, over to the studio as I hand you over to the guest and the anchor of the program.
Welcome back. The program is Child Crest, and permit me to welcome to the program. It's a privilege always sharing thoughts with us here, Professor Sunday AREMU OMILABU, the Director, Central Research Laboratory, College of Medicine, Lagos University Teaching Hospital. You're welcome to the program. What is it about Lassa fever in Nigeria as we have it today?
Thank you very much. The history of Lassa fever dated back to the late 60s, precisely 1969, when some missionaries working in the city of Lassa in the northeastern Nigeria.
There's a city called Lassa?
Yeah, there's a city called Lassa. Actually, that's where the virus derived its name, after killing some nurses and doctors who happened to attend to a native who was hospitalized for fever. And to them, they thought the patient was having just ordinary malaria. And that's how the story of Lassa started. The two nurses died in succession, and the doctor that attended to them also died. And that's how we started the story. And the virus was isolated from samples of the deceased. And because it happened to be for the first time in that Lassa city, so it carried the name Lassa virus. And the fever associated with the virus was called Lassa fever.
Interesting.
And what we know is that the virus is actually transmitted by rodents. And that the rodents are the reservoirs, and they are the ones actually giving the virus to us. And then we know the way our lifestyle is. The rodents and human beings, they share things in common, not knowing that we are playing with deadly viral agent lurking in those rodents. And you mentioned that why is it we're having upsurge?
Resurgence of it.
It's not a resurgence, it's been there. It's just that we are just giving attention now. Because the rodents carrying the virus are there, they've been there for long, and they will continue to be there. The virus doesn't kill them. The virus doesn't kill the rodents. So that's their own luck. But the virus can be gotten from the rodents through their droplets, through their feces, through their urine, through their saliva, if they should bite, and through their blood. So the body fluids, in short, is filled with the virus particles. So as long as we have the rodents around us, we'll be talking of Lassa fever outbreaks.
All right, you see, you talk of rodents, and even when you talk about these rats, I hear there's a specific one. And really, the rats are just everywhere, and they come in even variety of shapes, sizes, and what specific rat? We hear of mouse, we hear of rat, we hear of ekute, we hear of asin. Really, is this so common?
Actually, studies have been carried out on different types of rodents, and a good number of the rodents have shown to carry the virus, a good number of them. But there is a particular one that majorly carries the virus, and these are the multi-mummied rats. They call them in English multi-mummied, and then the scientific name is Mastomys natalensis. That's one of them. They are with many mammary glands, which help them to populate on time. They are peridomestic, that is, they can stay within the household as well as staying in the bush. So they have all those fixtures that give them that benefit of moving from bush to the house. In the house, they get food. They can eat leftovers. And once they eat leftovers, they will contaminate the food. So we have Mastomys natalensis, we have Mastomys hubati, we have Mastomys erythrococcus. They are the major carriers of Lassa virus. But that notwithstanding, we've shown in the recent time that there are other species of rodents that also carry the virus, like praomys. Praomys are related to Mastomys, so they carried it. We got this from a bush around the Osun River in Osun State. So, and we know we have different shades of these rodents scattered all over our villages, even in towns. We bring the rodents into the town while packing things. Rodents will try and sneak into many of these. Then we have a lot of importations of the virus from all those where they are endemic. In the cities, it's through importation, because Lassa virus are known to be in the villages where you have many of these rodents. But as a result of our the way we live our life, so we have to go and bring food from the villages. We have to transport them, and without minding the rodents will find their way, hide within this foodstuff, especially gari. And of course, when they get to the house, you see the way we live our life. We expose food, leftovers. We don't bother what happens to them. So the rodents also pray that we leave the foods uncovered so that they can feed on them. As they feed, they will contaminate. When they are feeding is when they are urinating, and that's when they are defecating too. So that's why we keep talking of rodents and the Lassa fever.
Interesting. Now, you see, as much as you say that it's always been there, I still believe that there has been a lot of resurgence. Every now and then we hear on the news, in the press, and the state has been has identified so and so number of patients. Now it's 10 states, now so and so states. It's never been like that before.
That's true. Actually, it's as a result of heightened health education.
Okay.
There is now more awareness that we have Lassa fever. And Lassa fever, it's very deadly. So everybody should be looking out for it. And we used to have heightened outbreaks during the dry season. Not that we don't have it during the wet seasons, but because the numbers are not as heightened, that's why people don't talk about Lassa fever during the rainy season. So Lassa fever is all the year round. But the one that we talk about more are the occurrences during the dry season when we have so many cases reported. And it is so because, like I mentioned earlier on, or in one of the episodes, during the dry season, their natural habitat will be dried off. And once they are dried off, they are exposed. And they know that this is exposure to danger. And then, of course, it happens that during the dry season in those days, that's when you have a lot of food harvests. So they used to follow the harvest to where the food is going. So they will eat, they will even take surplus, extra, back to the bush. Then when there is bush burning, they say there's no point staying here. So they will now move into the house completely and be enjoying it themselves. And when they are in the houses, they will defecate and urinate. And urine and feces are very rich in the virus. And that's when individuals start coming down the moment they eat the virus, either through the contaminated water or through the contaminated garri or through the contaminated food leftovers. So once you heat them, the virus will now germinate in the body. And that's why we now have cases moving from one individual to the other. At the household levels, the number of cases are not many. But when they now get to the hospital setting, where we don't have much knowledge of the virus, and that's when you now see many cases surrounding the few cases from the households. And that's why we now, during the dry season, there should be jingles to enlighten people the more that we are now in the Lassa fever season, because Nigeria is one of the endemic zone of Lassa fever.
Thank you for sharing the knowledge. You talked about symptoms, and like you said, this is one of the hemorrhagic fever that we should also, take cognizance of.
Yes.
How do we isolate the symptom of Lassa fever different from other fever? You'll be answering us, but first let's go for this short break. We'll be back shortly to conclude this conversation. Welcome back. It's Child Crest, and still sharing thoughts with us here is Professor Sunday OMILABU, Director, Central Research Laboratory, College of Medicine, Lagos University Teaching Hospital. You are still welcome to Child Crest.
Thank you.
This program is sharing thoughts for parents to take tips on how to nurture their children. Do we have, as much as we say that this thing is common, do we have a number of children coming down with the symptoms, and how do you exactly identify the symptom of Lassa fever?
Thank you very much. Looking at the symptoms, the early symptoms are not different from symptoms seen in malaria fever. It's not different from symptoms seen in typhoid fever. They all have similar symptoms. So it is only laboratory diagnosis that will actually differentiate the agents from one another. And that's why it's been very difficult managing Lassa. Because the moment that we are now thinking of a viral fever, it's usually getting late to manage such a patient. The virus, Lassa, has between 2 and 21 days, within which it grows fully in an individual. And by the first week, we can manage the case very well because there are antiviral agents. But after the first 1 week, the virus will have grown into a population that will be difficult for drug to manage. And that's why we keep talking of early diagnosis. Early diagnosis. Once we pick it very early, so the chances of recovery is very, 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 very 100%.
But are there some preventive measures so that, are there vaccines? Have they started introducing vaccines so that it can be like other controllable diseases?
Control measures, yes. Efforts are ongoing with vaccine production. But the viral agent is not stable. It changes. It changes from generation to generation. And that has been one of the obstacles militating against production of a vaccine. So we need a vaccine that will recognize a very broad species of LASSA virus. So they are still working to see what science can bring out in terms of getting a very efficacious vaccine. But what we need to do is to prepare ourselves very ready by making sure we wage war against rodents. Okay. Rodents are the ones bringing the virus. The moment we start waging war against rodents, we decrease their population. How do we decrease their population? We don't allow them to have a hiding place. Rodents look for where to hide. They want to hide from enemies. They can sneak so that you don't even know that they are around because they don't want you to notice their presence. But we are the ones that we need to make sure that our environment is made clean. We don't allow bushy around. We don't allow all our nooks and crannies be jam-packed with all the kind of wastes that we say we are keeping. Keep tires, all old items that allow rodents to hide. So we have to make sure our households are very free, they are clean. As we sit down, we should see all the corners. Once we have that one, rodents will never stay there because they know they are not safe. And they too also cherish their life. So they don't want to get anybody to kill them. So, but the moment we allow them to hide, then they will breed. I mentioned earlier on that they are multi-mammate because they have many mammary glands. So they can have to between 10 and 12 pups at a time. And they will feed them very well. And these ones they will join the population and they will move around. And that's why it's been difficult to control them.
Yes, but you see, the question is still pending. From your statistics, the program is Child Crest. What's the population of children affected with Lassa fever?
Thank you very much. Before I forget, the virus is no respecter of any age. Children, adolescents, adults, they are all have equal exposure. In fact, we know in pregnant women who got exposure, they died fast because the fetus in them will serve as a medium of breeding for the virus. The virus breed heavily in the fetus. So it's the fetus that first die before the carrier dies. So it's no respecter for any age. So we find them in children, and children that, especially those that play with rodents. So they always the cause. They play with rodents, they get a bite, and that's how the virus is transmitted. And you know, children, they love playing with pets, and they take rodents as pets too. So we need to check them and discourage this.
All right. Apart from the health workers that you talked about earlier on, the children, who are the other group of people that can be at risk in Lassa fever?
From what we've seen, farmers who are working in the farms, you know, they encounter rodents. Bush dwellers, or people that have to go for one business or the other in the bush, or people on holidays, on sightseeing. And once you are moving into the bush, you know you are moving into another environment. And the environment is occupied by animals, including rodents. And we should make sure we protect ourselves against being bitten by any of them. Because, like I mentioned earlier on, the rodent's saliva is very rich in the virus. So also is the blood. So also is the urine they pass out. So also is the feces they pass out. They are all very rich in the virus. So if we are the type that cannot do without going into the bush, so we have to be very wary of this information. Whatever we are going to eat, whatever we are going to drink, we have to make sure that they are placed in such a way that rodents will not contaminate.
How prepared are we in Nigeria, both the health workers, the federal government, Center for Disease Control, as effective as probably should be?
Yes, I think I would say we are much prepared, and that's why we started picking them. The labs are there that can diagnose. We have about 3 or 4 labs, and that's why you keep people talking about Lassa fever, because that shows that it's been diagnosed, and we know it's Lassa. It's not just a mere say or speculations. So, and that shows that NCDC has actually prepared herself ready, because we know the pattern of outbreaks, that it used to be on the high side during the dry season. So we are much prepared. They've prepositioned ribavirin, which is a very potent antiviral agent against Lassa virus. So it's been prepositioned, especially in all the epicenters. So we have endemic areas. And hospitals reporting Lassa, they have been prepositioned with ribavirin. And that's why it's under control. We've diagnosed, and they are being treated.
Finally, if you happen to have been thoroughly cured or treated of Lassa, is there any possibility of reoccurrence?
In an individual?
Yes.
I know. Once one has gotten immunity against the virus, so that an individual is protected. So that one now can help others while talking of management. And of course, is mimicking the role expected of a vaccine. But like I said earlier on, efforts are still ongoing to make sure that we have a very potent vaccine. In fact, in the early days of Lassa, the plasma of the victims that survived were the ones pre-positioned in the laboratories. And they were the ones they used to treat exposures to the virus. And it worked wonders. And that just to tell us that once you are exposed and you recovered, so your immunity is heightened. So you are protected.
Thank you very much. Any final words?
All we need to do is to take care of our environmental sanitation. Sanitation is very key, not only to Lassa, to all infectious agents who live a healthy life. Once we don't have avenues for rodents to thrive, we don't have avenues for mosquitoes to thrive, then we'll be doing ourselves a world of good, playing distantly from all these agents, and then nobody will fall sick. Even the malaria we are talking of is because we expose ourselves to mosquitoes. But in the mosquitoes, not only malaria is there, other agents are there, and we don't know which of them is being transmitted into us. So we need to maintain a healthy lifestyle.
Yes, it's been Child Crest. Let's go back to other aspects of the program. Other segments, we're back to round off.
Circulation of the child is very important, making sure that the child is well looked after. When we look at the child, what is circulation? How is the blood supply to the hands of the finger and things like that? As parents, we are the primary caregiver. Before any doctor, you should know your child better than any of your doctor. The doctor relies on the information you provide to them. So it's important for you to check on the patient. I always say the C is check on your child. So especially at the young age, when you do the bathing for them or inspecting their room or inspecting them physically, you look from head to toe. If there's something growing between their toes, is there a new skin bump that you notice? Is there swelling that they have been reported? If your child is very active, look at any area of scratches or swelling that may be telling you, because early detection is early cure. And if we don't detect and be the advocate for our children, what else can we be caring for? The children is our future and it's also our now. So we need to look after them in terms of checking them on a regular basis, whether you're going to be doing this because you're busy on a daily basis, weekly basis, but you need to inspect your child that is less than 5 years old at least basically once in a week. That's what we advocate.
Okay, you're still on to Child Crest. On this segment of the program, we're going to be rewarding well-nurtured children. As our baby of the week, we have Zane Chukuma. Thank you so much, ma.
Thank
So how
you
has it
very
been
much.
taking care of this wonderful, glowing boy? Was he taking 6 months exclusive breastfeeding, immunization regularly? Was he doing all of that?
Yes. I breastfed him for 6 months without water. That's exclusive breastfeeding. And right now he's 1 year and he has started on regular food.
Wow, congratulations for that.
Thank you very much.
And so, as for our baby of the week, we have some Vitafoam products, courtesy Vitafoam,
Wow.
to give to our baby. So, Zane, say thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome back. The program has been Child Crest. If you liked what was presented to you today, Lassa fever has been in focus. Make it a date with us same time next week. We shall bring you another interesting topic on Child Crest. It's all about the child. Bye for now.